This is one of the reasons why you can't get a rental in Australia. And in this video, I'll share with you some of the most controversial reasons on why you can't get a rental in Australia. If you're new to this channel, hi, I'm John, and I've worked over 6 years in the Australian property sector. And my current role is an asset manager for a real estate investment trust. Number 1, rental history. This normally affects international migrants. The reason why is if you've been living overseas, then there's a good chance that you've never had any kind of rental history in Australia. This means that the property managers would not have any clue on what kind of tenant would you be. One of the things that we look for in our tenants is the rental history because we need to make sure that they have a good track record. That's if they pay the rent, they don't do any damages into the property, or they don't cause any kinds of hassle to the owner or the property managers. Now, if you have a checkered past and you think that there's no way for us to know, I'm sorry to say, but you're wrong. Most property manager, if not all, uses the TICA check. What is TICA? TICA is a rental registry that holds all the bad records or complaints from property managers and owners when a tenant caused them a lot of grief. This may be because you guys didn't pay the rent, you caused a lot of damages, or whatever they put in there. If you use your parents as your rental reference, that's actually fine. However, we would definitely pick the people that has an owner or another property manager as their rental reference because there's not going to be any bias since they're not related, right? So please don't contact your cousin that works for a real estate agent. I didn't say that. Number 2 is employment. Now, one of the things that we look for in employment is, number 1, your salary. We need to make sure that you can actually pay for the rent. See, everyone, the main thing that we're actually looking here is to make sure that you can keep on paying the rent. Otherwise, you'll see a big man like me carrying this bat here, knocking on your door, asking for you to pay your rent. Now, one of the things that we look for in your employment is the stability of your work. If you're currently employed as a casual without any normal shifts, then that means there's a good chance that there will be weeks where you can't afford the rent. And the second thing is, if you've only started with the company for a couple of months, then there's a good chance that you might get laid off during your probation period. Another thing that we look at in the employment section is if there's a chance that you're going to be moving from one city to another because of your work. And what we don't want is for you to break your lease early, which means that we're gonna have to find another tenant and the owner is probably going to lose some money. And who do you think the owner is going to blame? This guy. Number 3 is lack of funds. Now, most if not all property managers out there will ask you to provide your bank statements. This is our guarantee to make sure that you can actually afford the property when you get laid off. One more thing that we're looking for in the bank statement is to make sure that the money you're getting for your salary hits your bank account, because some people would actually fake their pay slips just to get the rental property. Number 4 is credit scores. Now, I'm not 100% sure how some of the property managers does this, but I was told that some rental properties ask you for your credit score. Credit score gives you the indication of whether you are a high-risk individual because you normally pay your debts or not. Some real estate agents out there, not just in Australia, but mainly in US, if you haven't paid your rent and you currently have a debt, they can actually claim that on your credit score, which will drastically lower your points. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, John, I thought you were going to tell us some of the most controversial reasons on why we can't get a property. I know. Just hold your horses. Now, since we've gone through some of the more normal reasons on why you don't get rental properties, we're gonna start with number 5 as your first controversial reasons, which is your age. Some property managers and owners out there have biases towards your age. I'll give you an example of this. If a property manager had a lot of bad experience with younger demographics because they either do parties which damage the property then they would more likely be inclined to rent the property to older demographic.
This is next level. More than 100 people crashed this house party in southwest London, with people climbing on roofs and spilling into neighbouring gardens.
Now, there's also a risk for an older demographic. If you're currently retired and under pension, then the issue would be on affordability. Can you pay for the rent? Number 6 is pets. Now, I know that there's a lot of pet parents out there. The problem is, some owners and apartment building stratas don't allow pets inside their properties. The reason why is because the pets can cause damages and it can actually lower the property price for when you sell it. So I'll let you in on a little secret. This is just a story, this is not an advice. Once upon a time, we actually accepted a person as our tenant. Then a few days later, she gave us a document which says that she has a service dog for some sort of an emotional stress relief dog or something like that. So do you want to know what we did? There's nothing we can do. Number 7 is the number of occupants. Now, we want to make sure that the number of occupants that's going to stay in the property is in line with the capacity of the property. Let's say you have a 1-bedroom and there's going to be 3 people that's going to stay in there. We're normally not going to accept your application. The reason why is because we look after the utility. It's a lot more better for us to accept 2 people or 1 people within an apartment than 3 people. And it goes without saying, if you're 6 people applying for a 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom 1-bath, we're definitely not going to accept your application. Number 8 is family. The reason why? If you have a younger family, then you're probably gonna have kids, and kids cause a lot of damages. I know, because I have 2. For all those parents out there, be honest. Now, if you're a parent, you'd know that kids actually cause a lot of damages. And it's not because I'm a bad parent. I'm actually one of the best. You know, it's just what kids do. In fact, I'll give you an example. This is my rental property. As you can see, there's a massive hole in the entrance. Now, do you know what caused this? The son of the tenant kicked the ball and created a massive hole in the property. Now, who do you think paid for the repair? In theory, I could have asked her to pay for it, but since she's a good tenant, we copped it ourselves. And we're also good people. We only have 1 kid, which is very young back then, and we're kind of like, this is what they do. That's all right. Kids do kids things. But sometimes kids do massive damages where you don't only have to fix a couple of things, but you also have to repaint all the interior of your property. And I don't know if you know, but to paint a 24 to 30 square meter apartment, it would cost you somewhere around $3,000. And that's the cheaper side. And just to let everyone know, repairs and maintenance here on a property is really expensive because of the labor for the builders, which is why a lot of the owners don't actually want to rent their properties to young families. If they're actually going to rent it out for families, they're going to look for the age of the kids. Now, number 9 is going to be one of the most controversial things out there, which is racial bias. Some ethnicity here in Australia have a bad connotation attached to them, or stigma. So I'll tell you the story of what happened back on 2023 when we were looking for a new place to live. And just so you know, for context, 2023 is actually the peak of the rental crisis. As you can see, this picture shows there's 50 to 60 people in an inspection. The line goes from the bottom of the floor up to the 2nd floor just to inspect the property that's for rent. And during our search, we came across to this one real estate agent. I'm not gonna talk about the ethnicity or the religion of the property manager. However, he basically told us that he wants to pick myself and my wife for the rental property because he normally gets Indian migrants. And this is what he said. If you send in your rental application, you're definitely going to be picked for this property because we normally have Indian migrants. And the problem with them is they normally have a lot of people living inside the apartment. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this guy is blind because I don't think he understood that he said this to another migrant. As you can see, I've been brown for a long time. But yeah, here's the truth. In every culture out there, there's always going to be some bad apples. Like, it's really unfair for the entire culture to be judged based on the bad apples and get generalized. In fact, there's actually a rising anti-immigration movement right now, which emphasizes on Indian migrants. Just have a look at this. Last but not the least, as mentioned earlier, because of the rental crisis, there is high competition. What high competition does is it creates rental bidding wars, which is good for people like us because that means we make more money. However, it's not good for the people who's going to rent. What this means is that if there's high competition, a rental property that's advertised for $800 would probably get $900 to $950 as an offer just to get ahead from the long list of applicants. As the video that I've shown you in the introduction, there's a lot of competition out there. Now, you might be wondering, what caused all this? Yes, that's right. It's yours truly, John the Migrant. Yeah, let's blame it all on people like me, who's migrants. It's not like the government placed a lot of restrictions in the construction industry, which then led a bottleneck in the housing supply, right? But it's also not like COVID didn't disrupt the supply chain all over the world, wherein you can't even get a mask, let alone building materials, which literally stopped or slowed down the construction of new homes, right? And last but not the least, it's not like the government opened the faucet of migration, which drastically increased the demand for housing in a short amount of time, right? Oh, wait, that's actually because of me.
Oh my God!
But I came here on 2017, but back then, the rental vacancy is somewhere around 2%. So nothing really changed, which is why I actually created a video on the impact of the Australian government towards the housing market, which is located somewhere here. And please like and subscribe so that we can make more videos like this in the future. And as always, I'll see you next time.